Why can't we film Broadway shows? Let's get into it. Hi friends, if you're new here, my name is Katharine Quinn. I'm a 30-something living in New York City and working on Broadway. Last year I assisted the writing teams of Shucked and How to Dance in Ohio. This year I have pivoted to marketing. I worked on The Roommate on Broadway, I'm on The Great Gatsby on Broadway, Hip Hop Nutcracker on tour, Spells of the Sea, the Kennedy Center, other shows TBD. As always, the blog fam is the first to find out, and today we're talking about filming Broadway shows. Gasp, I know. In this video, we are going to mark chapters down below. I always try to be cognizant of your time. We are going to discuss the union protocols, the costs involved, and why we don't really have a contract that makes live streaming or pro shots easy or feasible. And then we're going to discuss why we should. Come on, if you've watched me for any period of time, you know I am a giant advocate for live streaming and accessibility, digital accessibility in particular, for Broadway, so let's get into it. First, let's set the stage. Let's get into the current landscape. Currently, there are filmed versions of Broadway shows, often called pro shots, though they're pretty rare. So in the last few years, we have seen a Waitress pro shot, Hamilton on Disney+, Come From Away on Apple TV, Diana the Musical on Netflix, but these are the exceptions, they're not the rule. Most of the time, if you want to see a Broadway show, you have to be in New York. That's pretty pricey, and you need to see it live. This has been the backbone of our industry for decades. Some folks wonder if it's time for a change. Now, before everyone gets upset, I'm an advocate for live streaming of pro shots. I don't think it needs to happen every single night. I think it is inevitable. I think it is going to happen, and I think that it will ultimately be better for our industry, and I'm really jumping the gun here because I'm gonna talk about it later. But given my druthers, I would always rather see a show in person, but I also want to acknowledge that's not possible for everyone. Hamilton is still on Broadway years after the pro shot has been released. Certainly, the film of Wicked is only going to make Wicked on Broadway even more popular than it has been for the past 20 years. People live stream Taylor Swift concerts every single day and still want to go to the Eras tour. Ready for it? If anything, listening to a recording doesn't make you want to see the show less. It makes you want to see it more. Okay, I know, we're jumping the gun. We're jumping the gun. The unfortunate truth is, as much as I would love genuinely to just set up a camera at the back of the house, use the archival recording, hit record, and watch the show, it is not that simple. The first reason that this is not simple is union protocols. We love our unions. They protect our actors. They protect our stagehands, our musicians. There are multiple unions that are working on Broadway in tandem to protect their members. So let's start with actors. Broadway performers are members of Actors Equity Association, the labor union representing American actors and stage managers in theater. Equity has incredibly strict rules, really about everything, but in particular about recording and broadcasting live performances. And this is designed to protect actors' rights. This is not meant to be nefarious. It is not meant to be limiting. It is meant to be protective, ensure fair compensation, and preserve the live theater experience. I'm in favor of all of this. Under current equity contracts, producers need to negotiate a separate agreement for any recording, live streaming, or pro shots. This involves additional pay for the actors, which on a Broadway show is going to come at a substantial cost. There is also the question, because this is really not tested, of how this will impact sales within a theater. During shutdown, some rules, there was a lot more live streaming theater. So some of these rules did relax, and they did create sort of like band-aid agreements, I would call them, so that some live streaming could happen, but nothing that is sustainable, nothing that functions with the currently running show. The way live streaming most frequently has happened in the shutdown and post-shutdown years is once a show knows it's closing, there's an agreement where you can sell as many live stream tickets as you had unsold seats in the house. So people will wait until the end of the run and be like, okay, these were the unsold seats we had over the course of the run, and we're gonna pack them all into 4 live stream performances, and therefore we have 2,000 tickets available on live stream, because those were the absences. Those were the number of seats that we had available cumulatively over the course of our run, and we will sell those now as live stream tickets. I appreciate that this is meant to protect actors from having their work exploited. However, streaming is a tricky model, because obviously Hollywood is really struggling right now, and streaming has kind of decimated the movie industry, and it's made incredible content for us and absolutely changed our media consumer habits, but it has not been necessarily a great thing for actors. That said, streaming for Broadway shows would effectively serve as marketing for the show. The problem a lot of the time with new musicals on Broadway, and really Broadway in general, is people don't even know what is on Broadway. Again, I swear to you, once a week someone asks about Beetlejuice on Broadway, and I'm like, girl, you're gonna be so disappointed. It's not there. Les Mis is not on Broadway anymore. Phantom of the Opera is not on Broadway anymore, and people don't know. If we were live streaming the shows, more people would know. Streaming on TV is finite. It's not an engine for another product. Streaming for Broadway would be. It's akin to listening to the album and falling in love with the album and then needing to see those actors in person, except that you're watching them on your screen and you're like, oh my God, I have to see these people in person. I have to hear Jeremy Jordan hold that note in person for 20 minutes. I must do it. So it is fundamentally different from streaming film or TV. One is finite, one is not. But as it stands, we don't have clear agreements, as far as I know, and my friends who work in streaming theater and adjacent industries, they don't know about a contract where actors see royalties, producers see a bump, and it's not just at the end of the run, and it is an unlimited number of tickets. Even if the royalties are not significant for actors, I feel, first of all, there should just be a flat out fee. Like, I think there should be an option. So like, let's say a production wants to live stream. If the live streaming option goes into agreement, part of that budget is that all of the actors and musicians and set and everyone, which is gonna be freaking expensive, immediately get a fee of like, this is a thing that's happening. Then they see nominal royalties as people are buying tickets. But really, the value isn't from that particular live stream. It is from the increased brand awareness. Again, it is about marketing. It's not just about those sales. It is a funnel. It is a numbers game to change the capacity of the Broadway theater from 1,700 seats to tens of thousands of seats once a quarter, or whatever we decide the model is. But I think it's going to take a lot of educating and a lot of patience and a lot of time to get those new contracts up and running, and to share with Actors Equity in particular that it's not about those individual royalty payments. It is about continuing to sell the show and making sure that your actors are not out of work because your show's not closing, because people know that your show exists and they've watched it in their house and now they want to come see it in person. Other unions, IATSE and backstage unions. So IATSE is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. It represents many of the backstage crew, workers in theater, stagehands, technicians, designers. All of these departments are also going to need to be compensated separately for a filmed performance. Again, this adds significant cost. And again, we don't have an agreement that makes sense where we're taking into account the actual impact of the streamed performance. We also can't forget about Local 802, which is the musicians union, which ditto should be compensated for their work. As a rundown of some of the costs: pay for all of the actors, pay for all the union members, actors, musicians, stagehands, etc. Then you have the cost of actual filming, multiple cameras, sound equipment, director and crew for the film version, editing, post-production if it's a pro shot, or a live crew if it is live streamed. You need to consider the rights and royalties for the script, music, and any other copyrighted elements for the show. I again think that there should be like basically like an additional flat fee agreement that goes into effect, and then nominal royalties if someone chooses to do this. And then marketing costs. If you're releasing either live stream or film, I mean, honestly, I just think it's about reallocating some of the spend that you're directing specifically to New York City or the primary markets that your show is being marketed to. But there's so many different models that have been tried, and universally we have not figured out one tried and true model for how Broadway can succeed, especially new original musicals, in the post-shutdown years. In case you aren't aware, 80% of shows do not make their money back. Broadway shows are unsuccessful 80% of the time. Most of the time they don't make their money back. I feel like live streaming is an incredible potential solution for this, or part of a solution. I do not think it will be profitable until it is. I think it's going to be very expensive to set up. The first shows to do this probably will not see money from it, but then ultimately there will be an infrastructure such that it will benefit all the parties who are involved. We have not tested this hypothesis, so people don't know if streaming a show is going to make it less likely for people to come in person. As it stands, part of the strategy of when you're going to roll out a tour is you want to drive people to New York so that it's the only place that they can see that show until sales relax a little bit, and then it's a different strategy. You're getting people on the road to see it. Maybe they still want to go see the Broadway company, etc. Now, this is not always the case. Six, for instance, famously did Fringe, and then it did Out of Towns, and then it did London, and then it did tours and cruise ships. And then once it was a super established brand, it was on Broadway. So people are breaking the mold all the time, and obviously that was incredibly successful for them. Even the revival of The Wiz that recently came through, they did a giant tour tour, and then it came to Broadway, effectively treating Broadway like a tour stop. And that was effective for them. So why should we do live streaming of pro shots? Potential financial upside for all parties involved. Huge marketing opportunity, broadening the brand of Broadway and broadening the audience size of Broadway. If it's a pro shot, you're preserving performances that would otherwise be ephemeral, which is a beautiful thing in one sense, but also what I would give to watch so many historical performances, that some of which I've gotten to watch in the Lincoln Center Library for the Performing Arts, which we should talk about. If you don't know about it, it's amazing. But other than that and slime tutorials, there's no way to watch those incredible performances of yore. And again, I think that rather than cannibalizing sales, this would unequivocally boost them. So it is a very delicate issue in a very rapidly moving and evolving digital landscape. I'm very curious what you think. Obviously, I'm very, very passionate about this. I just believe it's inevitable. It's the future. It's going to happen. It's going to be tough until it's not. And if people are going to be like, why didn't we do it sooner? But I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm ready. I can handle it. As always, if you enjoyed this YouTube video, it means so much to me. Even if you didn't like what I said, like it, comment, and/or subscribe. It's the surest way to let the YouTube algorithm know what wonderful people to push these videos out to, people just like you. I invite you to follow me on Instagram and TikTok @ Katharine Quinn. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the comment section. I can't wait. Bye.